Dan Willis here, and we're talking about how to increase your credit score and specifically how to deal with debt collectors. Many folks with less than perfect credit are dealing with outstanding debt in collections. As such, we need to share the due diligence steps and precisely how to deal with debt collectors. The first item of note is the Fair Debt Collection Practices Act, the FDCPA. This is federal legislation intended to regulate the debt collection industry. In brief, it says what time of day debt collectors can contact you, what they can say, who they can talk to about your alleged debt, and much more. Moreover, it requires debt collectors to be upfront and honest, along with providing you with that modicum of dignity and respect that every human being deserves. The FDCPA says much more, and it's worth your detailed review at your convenience. For many folks, their priority is will paying collections raise your credit score? Naturally, and you'd think so. It certainly makes sense if it did, but as of this video at the end of 2020 and moving forward, no, it won't. You see, if all you do is pay collections and nothing more, the only thing that'll change is the status of that item on your credit report. It'll go from an unpaid collection and be changed to a paid collection. This is still a negative item to have on your credit report and is likely to result in a bad credit score. Equifax even says, and we quote, collection accounts will remain on your Equifax credit report for up to 7 years, even if paid, end quote. In an Experian article, they say, and again we quote, consumers with collections on their credit reports are likely to have lower credit scores than consumers who have no collections. In addition to the potential impact to your credit scores, the presence of collections also can influence lender decisions, end quote. Whereas FICO, Fair Isaac Corporation, they say, and we quote again, the fact that you have collections listed on your credit report will almost certainly lower your FICO score. And they go on to say, as far as your FICO score is concerned, two things are considered. Has a collection appeared on your credit report and when it was reported? So whether or not you pay your collections off is really a personal decision, end quote. And if you'd like some help, you can get a free credit report consultation by calling toll-free 1-844-517-7627. Look, to get a better credit score, we need to remove this collection from your credit report entirely, as if it never happened. And believe it or not, this is a very realistic goal because every year, millions of collection marks are removed from consumers' credit reports. And for some folks, this may require a settlement payment, but only after first performing the necessary due diligence, which we'll be discussing in this video and in the next coming up. So of course, subscribe and join our congregation. Now, our first step is to request debt validation on our alleged debt. This is your right as a consumer granted by the Fair Debt Collection Practices Act. Furthermore, you didn't do any business with this debt collector. They just showed up one day demanding payment. When we request debt validation, we're essentially saying, prove it. Or if you prefer, we're asking for our original receipt. It's most effective to make your debt validation request in writing and send it using certified mail. The debt collector is required to respond by providing you with the documents, paperwork, and evidence that does prove this is your debt. These documents should clearly show you who the original lender or creditor was, the dates of account activity, the total balance, and all the details about the debt. If they fail to validate your account for any reason, then you're no longer legally responsible for payment, and they're supposed to contact all 3 credit bureaus to have them remove this collection from your credit report. If they do validate your account, our second step is to review this paperwork in detail. We're looking for your last date of account activity. You see, you're not legally responsible for most types of consumer debt forever. Generally, you're only responsible for about 7 years, and that's according to state law called the Statute of Limitations. And this law does vary by state, so for specifics, check out your local legislation. Once this statute of limitations legal time window runs out and expires, then the debt is supposed to be forgiven. This legal time window applies to the overwhelming majority of types of consumer debt, including medical bills, credit cards, charge-off accounts, utilities, telecom, repossessions, retail, and so many more. One of the few exceptions is federal student loans in default. And if you'd like some help, you can get a free credit report consultation by calling toll-free 1-844-517-7627. If your collections account is valid and within the statute of limitations time window, our third step is to negotiate a settlement agreement directly with the debt collector. There's 2 parts to your settlement agreement, and it's best to get this in writing. First, we need to negotiate to settle the debt for much less than the total balance. Often, you'll be able to settle for just a fraction of the balance and in the ballpark of around 20% up to about 40% of the total. For example, with a $2,000 debt, you may be able to negotiate and settle for just 20% or $400. The exact amount will depend upon your specific circumstances, including the type of debt, along with the age of the debt. It's standard operating practice for debt collectors to accept a settlement for less payment, in large part because your total balance has likely been inflated and assessed or charged sky-high interest rate fees and, believe it or not, even collection fees. And for some individuals, these fees can be substantial amounts of money. The second part of our settlement agreement is mission critical. We must get the debt collector to agree they'll stop reporting our account information to all 3 credit bureaus in exchange for our settlement payment. This way, once we make our payment, we can perform step 4 and dispute the collection on our credit reports with the credit bureaus. And when the credit bureaus investigate the item, which we discussed here in an earlier video, if you happen to miss it, we'll include a link in the description below. When the credit bureaus investigate the item, they'll contact the debt collector and ask them to verify the account. As per our settlement agreement, the debt collector won't verify the account, and in compliance with the Fair Credit Reporting Act, the credit bureaus will have to remove the collection from our credit reports. Some folks will advise you to negotiate what's called a pay for delete with the debt collector directly. If you are not familiar, this is where you demand the debt collector first remove the collection from your credit report, and after this is done, you promise then you'll pay the debt. As great as this sounds, we're more likely to see PETA opening up a local butcher shop, and we wouldn't suggest you hold your breath on that one. In our decade-plus years of working with folks, we've yet to hear of one individual or one debt collector ever making this agreement. One way to provide yourself with additional protection and supporting evidence is when you make your settlement payment, do so by personal check. And in the memo line, make a note about the debt collector's agreement that in exchange for your payment, they'll stop reporting your account to the credit bureaus. And if you'd like some help, you can get a free credit report consultation by calling toll-free 1-844-517-7627. Again, that's for a free credit report consultation, and the toll-free phone number is 1-844-517-7627. 517-7627. This is Dan Willis. We're going to include a link in the description below over to an article at our website for the full story. We also have a free report available there for you, the 7 proven ways to boost your credit score. And of course, subscribe and join our congregation, because coming up next, we're going to be talking about how long does it take to increase your credit score. So of course, subscribe and join our congregation. Have a fantastic day, and looking forward to talking to you again here soon.